This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by American Helix. The American Helix is a revolutionary new concept in smoking technology. Based on Bernoulli's principle, the shape of the pipe creates a Venturi effect, causing a swirling motion of the smoke through precision microholes that are produced for the intake system. This results in a slower burn that conserves tobacco and gives a smooth, refreshing smoke, making the Helix the smoothest hitting pipe on the market. For further info or to locate their products, you can find them on Facebook at facebook.com/SSHelix or contact them. signaturehelix@gmail.com. That's signaturehelix@gmail.com. This episode is also brought to you by Mountain Glass Arts. For the month of May, Mountain Glass is offering their borosilicate sale, shot, rod, and tube at 40% off. Just use the word SHOT at checkout. That's SCHOTT. And for all you soft glass nerds, they're having our COE 104 sale, a FETRE rod at 30% off. Just put in the code FETRE at checkout, and that's EFFETRE at checkout, and that's also at mountainglass.com. Just go to mountainglass.com. This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show.
You're listening to the Wise Guy Radio Show.
What's shaking? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 107. This is Jay Michael, your host. Thank you so much for tuning in today. With 17 years of experience behind the torch, I am as excited as always to bring you conversations with artists, sharing their stories in hopes to inspire and entertain while helping you grow your business. And today is no exception. Today we have on a guest is Paul, and I have an issue pronouncing his last name because it's not his actual last name, but it's Wonka forward and backwards, starting off with a D. Daknowwonka. I think that's how we were kind of figuring it out. But it was a fun conversation, not really a formal interview per se, but more of a shop talk conversation. He has been in our industry for a while and been around some of the best and shared space with and blown glass with and had conversations. And we just kind of get in these talks about his experiences and where he's been and what have you. It was a lot of fun. There are some technical sound issues at points in time. It's not really technical, but more of just a signal issue on his end, just being out in the woods as it can be with the crackling here and there. So I hope you guys can get through that, and hope you do enjoy this interview and conversation. It was a lot of fun for sure, but also wanted to announce, it's kind of a last minute thing here, but I still want to get this out there. The Flow magazine is holding a collaborative issue coming up soon. They have a deadline. It's June 1st to get your work submitted, but they said that they will extend it if needed. You can contact Maureen James, who's the publisher of the Flow, 800-719-0769. I'll have their number in the link as well, or you can also email her too, which I'll have in there. But basically, here's what it says: Fall 2016. Collaborative glass art issue. Artists working with other artists on a joint project can be inspiring, challenging, and very rewarding. It can provide a fresh approach and new ideas that often lead to an outcome that is unlike what you could have just made by yourself. Working as a group also forces you to sketch and plan your design more than most of us do when working solo. This can also aid into the construction of the finished piece if it is in a complicated design. Working with an artist from other media, such as metal artist, woodworker, painter, welder, can be exciting and bring an entirely new perspective and a synergistic combining of skills. With your submission, please include your sketch, scanned, or just snap a high-resolution photo, a little about your planning, a short description of the medium used, and the names and email addresses of everyone who participates in the project. Gallery entries, general interest stories, health, safety, or technical articles, as well as any tutorials are welcomed. Any skill level, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Submissions are accepted. Beads, sculpture, marbles, paperweights, vessels, mixed media, etc. Deadline is June 1st, 2016. This will come out in September 19th, 2016 issue of The Flow. And again, if you guys need an extension or what have you, please contact Maureen, 800-719-0769. And again, I'll have the link to her email as well as this phone number on the show notes. And if you have any other projects you have worked recently with other artists, I'm sure that those are available to submit in there. But definitely get this out there ASAP, as June 1st is next week. Just want to let you guys know that, which is I thought was a pretty cool concept going on. Also, there are be going to starting in June through Glass Art Magazine and what have you. They are offering some cool webinars coming up. Upcoming glass expert webinars, glasspatterns.com. You can go to. They'll be having Richard Lalonde, Jason Harris, also with Jerome Baker, Barbara Becker Simon, Josh Mazet, Mylan Townsend, and Joe Percelli. I have a list on my Instagram at jmichaelglass Instagram. Also, we'll have it on our Wise Guy Radio and in the show notes as well. So if you guys are interested in some webinars, definitely check these out for some awesome continuing educational classes per se, as us glass artists are not always formally educated in college, but we can continue our education with webinars and series like this. So just want to get this out there for you guys as well. So hopefully everybody's having a good time. Again, I was going to announce today what I have upcoming new project in lines for a new podcast I'm launching, but I've decided to go ahead and hold off because I don't want to spill the beans right away until I actually have a name for the show. Something that I've been contemplating for the past month and a half and putting out feeders and whatever to my family and friends and stuff about how to name this. Because I'm going to be going through a transition with the podcasts. The Wise Guy Radio Show will continue, and then the next one will also be one a week available show. Still industry-based, but a completely different perspective and area of our industry. And possibly also going to be rebranding the name of the Wise Guy Radio Show to something else. I'm not really sure yet. I know y'all are familiar with the name, but with Wise Guy Media being the umbrella, I'm thinking it might be Wise Guy Media Presents blah for this podcast and also the new one coming out. The new one coming out will definitely be Wise Guy Media Presents and then blank. But I'm still kind of debating on whether I'm going to do Wise Guy Media Presents the Wise Guy Radio Show. I think the whole maybe redundancy to it. But either way, I'm excited about these upcoming projects and just another area of space in our industry that I feel should be talked about and will help all of us artists and all facets of this industry and community. And no matter what kind of glass art or art in general that you do, I think this show is going to help out a lot with some other areas. And again, it's going to be a whole different concept, same format, but just different concept and area of expertise. So, all right, that's about it for now. If you guys have any questions or comments, definitely go to wiseguymedia.com. You can click on the contact thing there and hit me up, or you can just contact me straight up at info@wiseguyradio.com. Also, the episode, this will be up, so you can just go to wiseguymedia.com/107 is where you will find this on the website. And also, I have 106 through 102, I think, are up right now. And every day I'm adding an extra episode or two. Since I have like 107 now, it's going to take some time to get them all up. But either way, one more space to listen to the show. Also, if you're on iTunes, please go to the iTunes and subscribe to the show and leave a comment and also a 5-star review if you feel the show needs it, or doesn't need it, but deserves it, I should say. And then if you're a Droid user, you can go on your app store to whatever it is and go find the Stitcher app. Also, there's several other podcast players out there to check out the show. And again, share with your friends and family. Anybody in your life that is interested in what you do or have questions, just steer them in this direction. You can tell them to listen to the show and they can get some insights. But also give them a heads up that I have a potty mouth at times. So it's just the way the ball rolls, you know what I'm saying? So there you guys go. I'm out of here. Love ya. Enjoy this conversation with Paul. Episode 107, wiseguyradio.com, wiseguymedia.com. Hit me up. Go say hey to our sponsors, Mountain Glass, The Flow, American Helix, C-Cube, all those guys. We love you. Thanks for the support. Y'all have a beautiful day. Happy melting. We'll talk to you soon. Take it easy. Peace. What's going on, Paul? How you doing, brother?
Not too bad.
Thanks again for coming back on and sharing your story with us. And I definitely want to get into a bunch of your topics and talk about DFO and all kind of fun stuff where you're at. So before we get into any of that stuff, you want to go ahead and just give us insights into your humble beginnings and where you got started and who introduced you to the Flam.
Well, right on. Yeah, I seen a Shahuli special when I was in high school, right around the time they were saying pick a career, and so that looked funner than anything else that they were showing me, and I'd get to play with fire and with these awesome colors and shaping and just moving stuff in the moment and the unlimitable creating art world. I was in ceramics all through high school. I was gifted ceramic and general artist. I did a little bit of computer animation stuff. We got pretty wild with that in high school or whatever, but I sought out glass blowing more or less as an occupation. Been out of high school, and I toured a couple of local hot shops around the area, and it just led me to want more and more. And one of the first things I learned when I went to a hot shop is they're like, hey, any kind of job you can come across, you're going to have to take everything you can, mow lawns, paint houses. Mm-hmm. If it pays for something that you need, more classes, whatever, into it, because, you're going to need every dollar that you can up until the point where, you got everything that you need. If you can just come out and do it on your,
Yeah.
And so I looked around, at the controllers for multiple, glory holes and everything. I was like looking in the room and everything. Oh man, I'm gonna have to own all this one day. This is a lot of equipment. You can't even imagine.
Yeah, a lot of money.
This is over 20 grand worth of equipment. I'm gonna own this one day. And then as the years go on, somehow or another you find about borosilica glass and what it is, a little bit. And for me, I was heading down. Let's see. I mean, I already had several boro pieces or whatever, but I was heading down to Rainbow Gathering, I'm pretty sure. And I had done a little bit of glass blowing with this cat up here, which he was just a menace. I'm pretty sure the first time I met him I was missing my gas cap, but anyway, this guy had little, I don't know, 10 by 8 grow or something, and it was just, I checked on it one time, and then I checked on it another time, and the thing looked like freaking Charlotte's Web in there. It was bad. And he'd dry stuff out in the microwave, and he had a little torch set up there, and he had a rock tumbler, and he was spinning rocks and glass in the back, and he pretty much was showing me the basics. I'm like, oh, this is blow some air in here, and you do this and you do that, and you get some shapes and whatnot. And I'm like, oh, okay. Not even really knowing this guy is not normal, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sounds like it.
But anyway, after taking a trip to a festival and hitting it up with my my dreadlock redemption warriors or whatever you call it, I had traveled down to the Rainbow Gathering out of Northern California, and it's really a weird setup. I had a candle going. I was drawing a picture in the middle of the night, and people pulled next to us, asking where they're from, in a bowl, whatever. Nice glass piece, oh, where are you guys from? And it ends up being the same hometown I'm from, Marysville, Washington. They live frickin' less than a quarter mile from me, around the corner, block distance. And I'm like, what? Ended up finding out my buddy, I was a stranger to me then, blows glass, and says he'll teach me. And so I start hanging out every time I get a chance, and kind of got my ropes on the torch, and it was really cool learning 10 years ago. I mean, if you got to learn 10 years ago, kids these days, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't even, you walk into your studio or whatever it is, and they're like, oh, I want to make this rig, and it's you just started, you don't know Jack from applesauce, dude.
Right.
And he'd be pretty late in the safety lesson or something like that. Rapping Rick, like throw something out like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like honeycomb, like, yeah. But it's funny how style was developed too. But the style then that I was learning a lot was you draw the lines on. You maybe take something to the drill, a couple colors, and twisty cane it, and you draw those onto your piece or something to that degree. And moss was the hot color back then, and things are just different.
Yeah.
It's still the same. The same like, oh, I want a Mirage. I want GTT was just coming to the beast. I think we had a Bethlehem back then for a little while, and so anyway, my buddy was a descendant of Snodgrass teaching, and he had done the whole classes with Snoggy, and so like I'm like a descendant of Snodgrass student. I'm a student of a student, Snodgrass, pretty much.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I've taken some classes directly, so it was really cool seeing him down this last weekend. We'd made this giant orb, which we brought down. Me and Jared Betty did the dunks, and I did the artwork. And Trevor Hover from Trev's class, he kind of gave me what I should draw that night, because like I'm the hella good village drawer. Like I'm kind of like a punny or like a see who else is doing them. Give me a second. God. Oh, Mente. Mente's definitely doing them. I hear that it's the old Deppy flip or whatever, I learned from Punny myself, and like I really like pride myself in taking that lesson, because I mean basically I couldn't draw in glass before very well at all. So
yeah, it's definitely not easy to do. That's for sure.
Well, no, and I'll walk your kids through it. Like, you draw your lines, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You color your lines, you flip it, and hopefully you put some backing there or something. Maybe a color behind it, and then you got to get it back to round, and then you got to make it functional. Like,
yeah, insert it in something.
Oh, and don't distort that at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good luck, kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, what were some of the first things you were doing when you're getting your I guess your feet wet in a sense on the torch?
I mean, like it was funny. Sometimes it would be like, oh, here, you only get this or you only get that. It was always like that. You start unclear, like that kind of thing. Like everybody would only let you take little baby steps. When I started like being able to do it more on my own, like I was pretty much. I got in this bad car wreck, or like right in my fucking my prime year. I was like 21, going on 22. I was heading over to Eastern Washington. I got crimped up in this accident where it was a rollover, and it basically like took my mobility in my right arm. So I got a plate, screws, and that, and like that slowed me down a little bit, but. I'd been learning glass up until that point. It was like what I was doing the day before, and what I was doing like after I was in the sling and I could finally get back over to my shop to work. I was still fucking cramped up in it, but
yeah, it sucks.
I learned a lot. Yeah, it does suck when something slows you down a little bit. You just kind of got to take it in stride, though. And
yeah, exactly.
I always tell my friends, I'm like, I'm fucking with those pills. That's why, 3 people tell me they were on them, fucked my life up, fucking, for the rest of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, you live and you learn.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I ended up getting out of like having to work because of it. And I didn't expect that to become a thing, and it really didn't for about 7 years there. But in my downtime as a rehabilitation and everything, since I already knew like the ropes on blowing glass, I just kind of continued on with it and learned what I could. And it taught me a lot about being a responsible person. Like you can't just walk into a shop after a while and like look at little angel stringers or whatever it is and feel good about yourself. Like you got a clean house, you got to have a good bench base. You got to, have good attitude. And I found one thing early on: if I was hostile and I came out the class weird, like it would kind of come back at me like that.
Oh, yeah,
I'd cut
dude,
myself
absolutely.
or burn myself because of it.
Yeah, I agree.
You watch your instructor stab a few projects into the water dish, and you're just like, why is he doing that? And you can see extreme frustration of, oh, I'm invested into this and I'm invested into that, and it's not going my way, and I hate it. It happens.
Yeah, sometimes you got to start over.
Yeah. It never shocked me that things weren't turning out for other people, but I figured, when I got in there and tried it, it was going to work for me. Later on, I didn't feel that way anymore. I sympathize with those people more often than not, because it is one of those things, 70% of the time, you'll try to get it, but, something will just be a little skew, and, the rest of it, you might feel it, but it might take a little practice before you get there, and, you might have to give it a few tries, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would say that when you try to control the glass, it ends up controlling you instead. Makes a big difference.
Oh, and it's how I reference time. In a way, it's like, hey, we're all 5 seconds behind time, and it's irrelevant because we made the second hand on the clock, and we made the lines on the map, and what the hell's 5 minutes? It don't matter,
Yeah, exactly.
Your boss might not feel the same way, what I mean? Glass, I don't think that it really knows. It seems like it's one of those things where it's like the more you can relax it, you can't. It's enough. My biggest problem over the years, for a long time there, was overheating the glass. I wouldn't just, heat it up to the point of where it was just hot enough to do something with. I would heat it up to the point where it was hot enough to do anything I wanted to. You know what I mean? And when it opens up for you like that, it's a bad thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's definitely a fine line where you get too hot and then you're screwed.
Yeah, and the other one that was big fundamental for me was air pressure. The second that you lose it, usually you lose your project because of it, because there's just so much tying into that you can't fake. And if you don't think that that's the case, try doing a double-sided hinger with quartz on one side and a hinge top, and let me know how that hinge top goes for you. Because that's one of those ones where it's open-ended. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That you're going to continually screw with, that you don't have an airlock on. The time is so limited, and you might want to be used a bunch soon, or something like that. Comes into it pretty quick. But yeah, I don't know. It's been a crazy whirlwind, and I've gotten a spot in one of the most premier shops up the way here. With Jared Betty, and I work with Mumka sometimes, and I really praise her whole stake in the glass industry and what she's done for everything else, pretty much teaching Henry and Nancy, and every little startup color company was kind of a birthing of some knowledge that they instilled through Mumka or whatever, as the story's told down to me and everything. And I don't know. I was at some stage in it there where, I was able to go work on a little national or something like that. And, I got somebody with a Delta Mag across the shop, and, that little era terra lasted for a little gip. And, pretty soon I had moved myself down to Portland, and I was, putting myself in a couple shops down there and just, buying the tubing and not having a torch and doing that whole bit. And that was exhausting, and beating your head against the wall. And I'd go down to the park. That was in the days or whatever. It was go down to the park and sell my wares, or down to hit a few pipe shops or whatever. I was selling my aphrodisiac chocolates at the time. Those were pretty big, and so people started calling me Wonka, and the name kind of stuck. And then that was right in that era of now I'm meeting all these glass blowers with these names. Even my shop owner up here he called himself North Star at that point, and I think he was just fucking with Abe. I don't know, but like that was a DJ name, and so it was always funny. Like glasspipes.org was a big thing back then. Social media was just rip roaring. All the college kids were starting to get on Instagram. MySpace, I think, got a virus or something, like somewhere in the late, so like MySpace was dying off.
Yeah.
I was even talking Glass back in MySpace days, but anyway, I developed into like a healthy obsession, I would say, and I just kept tacking at it until I had my own studio. I eventually moved back up here from Oregon and set myself up and, got the torches and the tanks and the hoses and everything. And now all I got to do to commute to work is walk across the yard and, I'm there. So,
Yeah, I gotta love that.
I try. Oh, yeah, that, anytime you go down and you get stuck in traffic these days, it's just like, oh man, this is what I do. This, like I'm like so overdoing that, because like that's the real strain,
Yeah, dude. Hell yeah, it sucks. I do that 4 times a week. Sitting in traffic sometimes, it sucks. But also, you gotta do what you gotta do. It's up to you.
Yeah, like you gotta go to those places and do those things sometimes, and that's for sure.
Yeah. So as you're going through your process of like fine tuning your lines, what's inspiring your your lines, I guess, and what you're doing?
For what doing the line work? I'm sorry, I didn't
Well, just like
understand that.
your pipes and stuff that you're making, or whatever art you're creating. What's inspiring you?
Right now I'm more like leaning on the female form side of things. Like I see a lot of great tubes that are made that are just tits. They look just astounding. Like you can't help but stare at them. They're so beautiful. Beyond that, I love anything that's an eclectic piece in somebody's mind, somebody's fanatical about, whether it's like the Big Lebowski or whether it's like Warner Brothers or whether it's some comic book character, like that whole thing. I try to bring something to life, more or less. I did a Wonder Woman glass this last year that came out pretty good. It was about a 7-inch cup or so. It wasn't a functional art piece, I mean, it is, but it isn't. I mean,
Right.
It's just how you look at it. Yeah. Smoking glass, I love it. I use it, but it's hard to get really tech into it because it is something. It's one of the things. It's like functionality comes first. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, everybody's got their preference. Some people smoke for flavor. Some people smoke for effect. And like.
Right.
Some are both and whatever. And like, I think glass alone like falls in that same category. Like, some people can get that crowd roaring behind them and do something magical because, they're in the heat of the moment and they can feel it, they can feed off that energy. And some people like, they don't like being in crowds and like, that whole energy freaks them out and like they might get a little shaky on end because of it. So, things do different things to different people, and I think like if you know how to ride the waves, that's how you become like a really successful technician. Who like has a kind of communal thought going on with everybody around them.
Yeah, for sure. So are you more focused on creating art over functional glass right now?
No. I mean, I'm a piper. Like I got to interview Jason Lee years ago, and it's just like his like kind of what he told me. He's like, I was a piper before I was a glass artist. I used to cut up chunks of graphics and make graphics tubes and carve stones and do all kinds of stuff like back in the day. And like I was kind of the same way. If it wasn't glass, it was wood. If like.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
bamboo or whatever it is. My old man used to make bamboo bongs back in the day, so like I kind of come from like that kind of heritage in a way. But yeah, functional art is amazing, and things that it can do. And I'm working on one right now where it's a couple 10 mils on both sides, and just a port with 10 mil and the bottom that, you know, you can screw a pretty much like a straw onto with the gong attachment, and have a wine glass toker on the go kind of thing. And, you know, just like simple ideas like that like take something that's already in use and like utilize it, or like, you know, just fun stuff like that like people haven't really thought too much about. I'm all about that idea. I want to not make the same thing over and over again until, you know, I'm just been beating my head against the wall, and it's like, yeah, I've made $3.50 on each one of these, you know. Like I've seen many people like, you know, sitting on the case of spoons for, oh, you know, I'll sell that to you for $100, you know.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, sure, you go out and you sell their spoons or whatever, and like, yeah, you made, you know, whatever it was, $50, and they made however much, and then, you know, it looks like your show about equating the costs on everything. It just, after a while, it's like, man, you're spinning your wheels. And like, I always tell people this, it's like the cost of the moment. You know, it's not really about like how much work you got done the second that you're working on it. It's about, you know, how many cups of coffee do you have to pay for, gasoline to the shop, you know, how many freaking rosin tokes or, you know, freaking bong hits did you have to take to do that work that you did, you know. And like are those $70 moves you just did? You know, like that whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, added expenses. That's for sure.
Yeah, so I don't know. We all tie into it, and I think that the knowledge is like when I go out to a show or something like that, I find that it is one of those biter things where it's like a lot of people don't want to bring out their best foot forward because they know as soon as they show it around the house, like people are going to dissect it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as soon as they dissect it, they're going to start like incorporating it, and you know, like it's that whole reverse engineering thing or whatever it is. You know.
Yeah, man. But you know, it's amazing. There's some work out there that I see that even that I've seen in person that's like almost impossible to reverse engineer. And you try to, and then you go to try and make it, and it doesn't come out anything like what you saw, you know, or it doesn't come out at all because the process is completely different than what you expect it to be. It's kind of weird, especially some of the technical shit like banjo and some of the stuff those cats are doing right now. It's like it's just completely mind-blowing seeing it done.
Oh, and Marcel, you know, like people like Marcel have been killing the game for, you know, like 17 to 20 years out, you know, just seeing the early stuff that they did, and you're just like, damn, you know.
Oh yeah.
You know, a lot of these styles, you know, the beveling, the lapidary, you know, it all kind of comes into it at some point, and you have this extreme respect for it, but you also know that there's been people that have walked miles in those moccasins, you know, and like you kind of just gotta learn it where you can, you know. Be very versed in knowledge, and like don't ever think that you know everything about it, because the second that you think you do, it'll spoil you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and
yep.
I just learned this last weekend that I guess fuming colors and Illuminati are like not gonna go together. I learned that from a color maker, and I was like, and he was breaking it down for me, like why those two don't mix, and yeah, it's just like stuff like that. It's very fascinating, you know. You think you know it all, you know, until it humiliates you or whatever it is.
Yeah,
you know?
totally. Well, you know, I always hear about, you know, everybody talks about the 10,000 hour rule, you know, in terms of mastering something, and even like for the glass industry, it's like to even get anywhere near quote unquote mastering it, it's like 10,000 hours per technique, you know. And there's so many techs that we have under our belts that we need to learn, just from the very basic foundational stuff to like the higher production or higher technical stuff. You know, it's like it takes a lot of fucking time to, you know, 80 hours a week of just something that you need to practice over and over and over and over again. So I definitely agree. And like you're saying with colors, like you'll never know that colors don't work together unless you actually do it, and then you find out the hard way.
Or you spend some time buying it. And you know, I just heard it. I went out to dinner with Jared Betty and Rob Capone and a couple other cats, his quartz worker, last night, and we were talking about this and that, and he was breaking it down. One of the guys that buys his color, he's really eclectic about it, and he writes down how much tube was pulled, who pulled it, the colors that were used in it, the time of day that it was pulled. Like, he's very technical about it, and he catalogs everything, and he cares for the colors like that. And the more people that are conscious about that, and they're like, oh, this isn't purple, this is like whatever it is. Like, I'm sorry, like I'm kind of astounded. It is 7 o'clock here, and I am just waking up and
it's
whatnot.
all good,
but
man.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
is it the purple rain? Like whatever. I've been collecting scrap for 18 years, and I got my rig's still got boxes that I haven't unloaded of. I'm always working on like organizing it and making helipods going like in the future. That's my plan. People thought I was crazy for a long time. They were like, oh, what are you doing with all this? You order? Like, it doesn't really matter. It crunches down into frit. I love it when somebody's project doesn't work out and they give up on it. I'll take it home and, I'll dissect it. I'll try to figure out what went wrong and work out the flaw and send them a picture if it does work out, And I've had people like try to take their stuff out of the water dish and like throw it in the woods so I wouldn't, like it gets like people are just weird at some point. Like they don't want you to like get the assistance sometimes, and sometimes they're happy to help, and you want to put those people around you that are happy to help and they're like there for you.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so after my trip to Oregon, I came back up here and I, kind of sought out, well, where is my equipment? Where is my kiln? And I, it took me a little while to kind of get all my stuff back to where, like nobody was borrowing it. And, like it took some time. I was using a top loader kiln for a while because I was inconveniencing other people wanting my stuff back. So basically, after my home studio was up and Rip Roar, and I had to build walls, I had to put doors in, I had to do the whole bit, and ventilation, and it took miles worth of turning heads and corners and screws and trips to the lumber store and whatever it did, and when things were all set and done, it was never done, like it was this continuing, grueling, never-ending process that I'm still in today. I sleep in as long as I can, any day that I can. That's one of the things I pride myself in most of the time is like I don't want to get up early, I don't want to sit in traffic, like it's the occupation allows me to have the liberty to do what I want, which is a great thing, especially when you're a creative-minded person. And so one of my favorite things to make, if I'm low on oxygen, I'm just using my oxygen concentrators, I'll make 14 or 18 mil bowls. And I can pump those out in about 45 minutes or so and make them pretty decorative or whatever it is. Or I'll do a Philoshello pendant or like a hollow pendant. Those kinds of things, like I can whip out in about an inch of glass. I can draw a diamond tech and some cobalt 6 on a piece of 12 and, color it all in. And, by the time I'm done with my little pendant, it's pretty badass, for what it was when it started out. It was just a 1-inch piece of 12 mil tube, so.
Right.
I mean, when you get to that point, you can teach that to somebody who walks into your shop for the first time and have no experience blowing glass. You can walk through the whole process. It gets to the point where you're like, okay, I can teach this, and yeah, I got my 10-year a long time ago. Like, that was the thing for me, but the master glass blowers, like the people that are working off of the metal, like the stainless steel, the Moors, I think they call them.
Okay. Yeah.
Isn't that right? MAOR or MOIR?
For doing color pulls and stuff.
Yeah. Once you get to and you want to be working with somebody that's on that level, trust me, because once you get onto that level, you can do a lot more with it. It's a really cool piece piece of literature that you can get your hands on through the internet, which is called the Glass Bible, and they talk about that a lot, like how it comes down to keeping your handle hot enough to where it's not really, coming apart and whatnot. And, it's really coming down to that stress on that handle, like 99% of the time, like the second that it stresses itself out, it leaps off the end of your, handle or whatever it is. And there goes your project. So, the way that I would say you're trying to do that heady and you can't figure out how to do it, I would finish it out gone with double bridges onto the piece. I've watched a lot of pieces go down successfully, and when people bridge off of their gong connection, they're able to finish the piece out, like, because they're holding it by it, and they've already set those welds in, like, they got a pretty good chance at finishing them out. But anyway, yeah, so I started working with Betty, and, I don't want to reveal all his secrets or anything like that, but, the guy, he helped build one of the most premier kilns, I think, still to this date. Him and Skaz both built one, and Skaz still uses his, and those handful of people that know what I'm talking about, and it's one of these top loaders that they're kind of a handful for somebody to lift unless you got the pulley system put in on it, but because they are heavy. Yeah. You got to lift that thing up,
like a coffin style kiln.
Yeah, those coffin style kilns,
yeah.
Because the heat doesn't escape out of the side as much, like they hold the heat a lot truer,
yep.
And they work a lot better.
Yeah, they're pretty sweet. We have one of those at Disney for our when we do a full mass annealing. We anneal everything on stage, and then we bring it to the warehouse, and then it gets through another goes for a full cycle. Do a big batch annealing.
Yeah, and that is just so crazy. Like, you're on that level with it, you've got an interesting story as well. Like, for sure, I don't think you talk enough about it, because it is, you're teaching kids that, are coming through and whatnot, and just,
yeah.
I don't know. That's a lot of fun. I've always wanted to, like, expand, but I kind of got to keep it, like, 18 and up, 21 and up or whatever, because it is one of these things where it's like, sort of the kids coming in are like, I want to make this, that, and the other thing, and it's like, oh, I don't know if your parents are like, like that kind of thing. Yeah. So it's like,
yeah, opportunities are fun.
Yeah, no, I always see people putting their kids up. I always like the ones where they're still sitting behind them. They don't give them free reign right up that. But I look at Darby's kid. Like, I met that kid a while back, and I was like, oh, holy shit, look at all these cases of. The kid's crushing it out, and, like, if you got good parents, like, encouraging you, like, the sky's your limit.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I agree.
Yeah, so, give a shout out to Sherlock while we're at it. But, these new up-and-coming kids, they're so amazing, and, these people that personify their image or whatever, a big shout out to Quave and his club bangers and whatnot. He's a homie of mine, and really been a super nice guy through all this, and been there for me, like, as much as he could. And same with Scott Deppy. Scott Deppy is an amazing person. He's one of the coolest people I know, and, like, I love, like, getting to hang out with that cat, and he's invited me up to check out El Dorado, the mothership up there, and I know Jake C and all those cats up there, and they've even told me if I do one of these spot-on fillas, I'm ready to come up, and they'd be willing to work with one of them, whatever. If I knock it out of the park or whatever it is, I got to come correct, So.
Oh yeah, they
you hear that from those people that you want to work with, and you're like, oh, really? Damn.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of thing. Like, even if you hear it through the grapevine, you still know it's true. You're like, damn, like, I need to come correct on this. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at with my, it's like, yeah, on the one hand, I can teach kids, and I can make it fun and the thing to do, and that enthusiasm helps pay my bills because, people that want to do this, they want to put gas tank. They want to sit there at the torch. They want to do it, and they want to help out. They want to clean the floors. So they want, organize the glass, like everything that comes about,
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoy that whole aspect of it, but I need to almost like pencil in like those spots in my tank where it's like, oh, I got 700, time to finish my heady out, like whatever, like
make it count.
Yeah, and so I try to be very trade with the studio time and make a few things count or whatever. My specific style, I ask Jared all the time because he does a lot of Philicello work. I go, man, like, how do you do this, like, day in and day out and not get, like, totally burned out in it? Like, because, like, you got to spend so much time doing prep work and pulling stringers all day that it's, like, you got to be into it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
pulling
dude.
stringers got to be
Tedious.
your thing. That's got to be, like, your warm-up. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, totally. But it's a good thing to do for a warm-up, or even just spend a whole day just doing prep, and then you got prep for, like, the next month. Or even a couple of days or whatever, depending on what you're doing. It makes a big difference.
So, yeah, with me, it's always been like, oh, I need something to haul all these stringers in, and I need to organize these all, and then I need this much space to, like, draw this all out. And then, like, if I get my chance to, I always, like, will take the Herbert Arnold torch over Carlisle or over anything else, over GTT, because the Herbert Arnold's badass, and I got access to him. So, I'll go up and work at his shop. Rob lets me use his torch. Jared lets me use his torch. There's multiple Herbert Arnolds up there. He is like 60 mil, I think, and 100 mil, one of the two. But anyway, yeah, it's pretty badass once you get up to that level where you're working with crucibles, you're working with lathes. Encourage kids if they're thinking about a career on career day. I never want to tell people that, like, oh, don't do that, I have a lot of fun doing that, but, definitely get yourself in a situation to where you don't got to worry about just doing that as your only way to success, because there's a lot of people doing that, and I can tell you that firsthand. If you want to check it out for yourself, check out my network on Facebook, Glass Shopping Network, capitalized Glass Shopping Network. And it'll come up. It's the one with the star logo, and basically that's 20,500 people who have an interest in glass. Some of them are trolls. They're getting weeded out. People that do bad business on there get blacklisted. Basically, I started that. I was heading from my shop. I was heading in with a JPEG from my phone. Or actually not even my phone, my camera at that point. I was going into the computer. Home Shopping Network was on the TV, late night infomercial, like, I started thinking, I was like, man, I need to sell glass right now just to keep, oxygen in the tank, whatever, I started thinking about it. I'm like, man, there's a lot of people out there who are doing what I do and probably in the same boat. I just started like, what if I start like taking like everybody's picture that's like, I know it's doing this, and like, start saying, hey, you want to join my group? I did it for about 1,000, and then I think I waited a little bit after somebody was like, hey, don't auto join me to your group, like one person complained out of 1,000. I was like, I'm gonna do another 1,000. So I did like 2,000. I had 2,000 people to a group. 20,000 people later.
Yeah,
one of those stories.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And, I deal with a lot. I look at a lot of glass. I just want to put it out there. If there is an event that is going on that needs an extra judge, I know that there's a hierarchy, everything. But if there's somebody who's looked at glass all day, every day for, like, up upon, like, 7-8 years now, like, I'm probably the guy, like.
Hell yeah. So is it set up for retail? Is it like a direct retail space?
Yeah, it's direct retail. We do everything that we can to make sure that everybody's of age. We do 5 to 7 business days. 14 tops. Show your routing number. We don't really have like super enforced rules as far as like no vulgar language and like that. All those apply. one of her admins is in her 80s. I don't know. We just, we keep up with it. Big shout out to Phyllis over at Trev's Glass. She is his grandma up here. She does most of our glass supply retail, and yeah, just like one of those most astounding, basin glass. I think Flow magazine's covered her a couple times in a couple articles and whatnot, and yeah, just all around super intelligent. Not enough good things to say about her because she's just like, she warms your heart. Just the thought of her. So I just wanted to throw that out there while I'm on the horn with you, and yeah, just basically get on board with it in every facet that you can. And enjoy what you do. I mean, when it comes down to it and you break down your bills, tank of oxygen, tank of propane, you can't afford not to do this. That's basically the fundamental that I've found over the years that kept me going is, for outside of $40, your tanks are full, you're back at your shop, you got the material. How are you not going to do this? Are you kidding? That kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of other things that you can do. And I've watched glass blowers just about become homeless overnight, or that kind of thing. Have to move their shop, or whatever it is, and be on the rebound for a minute, or living with friends, or whatever it is. But they're still fucking bossing out as hard as they can on the torch, and they're doing everything that they can to make that work. And so, I'd say it's one of those healthy obsessions as long as you let it be healthy, but you can take it a step beyond that for sure,
Yeah, you got to find that balance too. Make sure you take breaks and get some sleep.
Yeah, and that's the fundamental. There's so much material in this earth that is glass, and it's called borosilicate. There's a lot of glass on this planet. I don't know how many thirds of this planet is glass, but somebody was pretty much breaking it down how it's one of the most unutilized materials on this planet that we're now honing into this wonderful craft that we can dedicate to these purposes. And so it's a beautiful time, and I don't think we've ever had a medium that's so allowing us to do all these different facets with it.
Yeah, I agree.
Teaching classes up here, I always give people you got your cello, you got your fumicello, and you got your radicello. I try to break things down. I tell people to coil onto solid, and then do a flare out, and then attach to that, and then pull out as you're blowing air in, and do mini tube. You can figure out how the whole tube pull thing works, because pretty soon I'm gonna have you holding the crucible pot with me, and we're gonna be doing this a lot longer. I'm gonna be up the ladder, you're gonna be down there, that whole thing.
Yeah.
And so it's really important. I mean, sure, I learned how to coil pot for years, but I wouldn't want to teach that to anybody, not after I learned how to do it better, because every coil pot you leave those lines, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, it depends on the color too.
Those lines all show, and then unless that was, you're gonna have the same look to every one of those pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to do some trick to hide the lines, and that, or you coil on the solid. And so little tricks like that, they'll just because you know how to do something doesn't mean that that's your style and that's what you do every day, day in and day out, and that's your go-to thing. I don't know. I always looked at it like rabbit holes, or pigeonholes or whatever it is. And the more submersed you get into fuming, the more submersed you get into filicellos or whatever it is, you're stuck there for a little bit. You know what I mean? Until you move on to the next thing.
Yeah,
I got really deep into the whole double hinge. So quartz on one side with a lid up top. And, on an 18 or a 14 mil.
Yep.
You seen anything like that?
Like the swing buckets and stuff?
Yeah, like a swing bucket with a lid on the other side. So it'd be like a double swing.
Yep.
yeah, anyway, those, I showed those to Deppy, and he's just like, oh, yeah, no wonder you're having trouble with those. Those are like, like, it's one of those things, like, unless you, like, know exactly what you're doing there, you got a Bunsen underneath it, it's like, good luck. Good luck.
Yeah,
like,
especially of course, man. I think that shit takes a lot of fucking heat, and it doesn't even really melt, even when you get it super hot.
And realistically, the people that are working quartz, like, are far more gifted in a lot of senses, not than glass blowers, but, like, financially, like us glass blowers, we got to deal with a lot more. And like, don't think that we don't, because like I know how that quartz bonds and breaks and everything. And yeah, sure, it can be brittle, but I mean, it's not like it's gonna fuck up that bad. Like, especially if you stop it, like you can do things with it, and it's but it's, I think that should make you a lot more crazy than boro, because the high temperatures, because the high the brightness of it, the sound, the sound of the whistling torch that you have to use with it, the air compress. Oh yeah, like even working next to a quartz worker can get pretty annoying pretty quick.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't know if you've ever had to do that, but
no, not yet. Nope, not yet.
No, but like I got a lot of pride in anybody doing this, and we couldn't do this without the quartz workers, the hollow nails, the new rocket ship,
Yeah,
like
it's cool to see the innovation there too. Like taking the quartz, the scientific side of the quartz glass, and then becoming innovative as a third party in this whole rig industry, or the functional industry in general. It's pretty cool seeing all these little offshoot companies that are coming out because of it.
Oh yeah, well a lot of that stuff is made overseas too, and so yeah, get behind your American companies if you want to be one of these buy American people. I'm not saying that America makes everything that's quality in this world, but and a lot of these teched out designs, like they came from overseas. Like I don't think we created the peyote stitch. I've seen a lot of people making that stuff overseas and whatnot. A lot of these artists, I could really tell you their names, and so I try to keep up on everything, to be very vast with it, and be able to pull my phone out and show somebody some picture that they've never seen of glass. They're like, whoa, like that kind of thing. And once you get into the heady circle, the 101 or whatever it is, I don't know, Heather, what is this, Mente's girl, she did a picture about a year and a half ago that was pretty cool. It was the 101. It was a picture of all the different glass blowers working on the same page. Anyway, yeah, that's an actual crew. You know what I mean? Well, once you're flying around the countryside and you're giving demos to people, you've made it. That's the way I look at it. I think that a lot of these people that have competed in these bigger competitions, they're not trying to do it over and over again. They're not. It's no longer pissing test or contest or whatever. When you get to some point, you're there. You know what I mean?
Yep,
Once
absolutely.
you know that you're there, you don't have to prove anything to anybody else. I don't know what that point is in glass, whether it's your grandmaster status or what, but it basically, it comes out of a crucible. It's like pulled up a ladder and cut up and in your hands, and some stuff's out of a factory into your hands or whatever, and some stuff doesn't come out of a box, it comes out of your scrap pile. And I can't stress that enough to these kids just starting out. You could probably find yourself some glass in a classifieds group or something, go bid on a box of scrap or something like that. You'd be surprised. There's gems out there. I've been wanting to get into millie work for a long time. I used to play around with a little bit, but meeting a couple millie makers, Todd Hensley up in this area. He used to work for Chong. Company in Paris and them down there with Lurch and all those guys. He's a really renowned millie maker up in the area. His stuff's pretty badass, and so he'll give you a step-by-step instruction, and just stacking those millies, it takes a whole. You you thought laying a Filicello took a lot of strings. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Very awe-inspiring, though, and very technical. And, I think a lot of us, we just want to be able to move it around with our hands and get it to that point where it's perfect and leave it right there. And that's more like, okay, get it where it's perfect. Now, praise that this works. Like that whole stage. There's something to it. Like when you got weeks worth of project hanging off the end of a blow handle, and you're sitting there like, well, I'm gonna take these couple of seconds in this flame here. I hope it's the right flame, and is the wind, like you're trying to do the golf shoot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it gets so exhausting at some point. To keep up with the parameters on things. I love making headies. I love going big. I love draining the tank. I love, like making 3-inch marbles. I like having multiple people working on the same piece. I like the thought of teamwork. I like to get in there in the shop and like have a good vibe going. I don't like any negativity around me in my shop. I don't like negativity around me in other people's shop. I just like to weed it out, you know what I mean? Like figure out like who's got an issue, what the issue is, how do we like play therapy for these people, how do we get them the help that they need, like that kind of thing. Like I've done a lot of weird jobs over the years because, I've done everything from fucking cleaning bathrooms to like you name it, man. Because I wanted to blow glass and like that was my way in,
Yeah, the sacrifices you got to make. That's it.
Oh, yeah, eventually you're like, fuck this shit. I'm going to go get my own torch. Fucking go do this when I want it,
Yep.
And,
but then,
yeah,
too,
I mean,
makes you appreciate it more.
Oh, yeah, you burn out way too quick in this industry, I mean, like, well, where's your merit badge, you might get that on some, like if you're on, I think, which one is it that does that melting pot? It actually does merit badges and whatnot.
Yeah, I think so.
I've wanted to expand the glass-blowing field into the glass-blowing video game, and that's where I'm trying to take the foresight. I know that there's multiple people out there with, not a gazillion dollars, but, enough to, like, donate, $70 bucks to this. And if we get enough people on board, the right companies behind it, and, maybe DigiPen, Xbox got on board, or something with this VR setup or something, something could happen. And there is all these different stages in glass blowing, and there is a lot of things that have happened, in racing games and fishing games and first-hand shooter games, but nobody's ever put a torch in a game. And like, what the hell is that? Like, how much different types of torches there are out there, and like different tips, and like different types of glass, and like how much programming and formatting and like everything it would take to like make this game happen. But I tell you what, like I think if kids could go in and learn how to blow glass without ever having to touch the actual torch, and like having a repertoire of knowledge that is about all the different terminologies and everything that is involved in half of this stuff, it would really train people without burns, without the wasted oxygen, without the wasted propane, and like kids would love it, and they would like works would stand alone, like that's the whole thing is I don't know how time or whatever it's gonna take. I'm shooting for 2032. I think by then we'll have a glass blown video game. But if we're on the air talking about this right now, I've if you look up glass blown video game on Reddit, people have tore up that idea, and like some people think it's an awesome idea. I've made a song about it on SoundCloud called the Glass Blown Video Game, and it talks about all the different aspects of crucible dips, the whole bit, like everything that all the different levels would present themselves. And would it be fun to tech in colors on glass? Well, fuck yeah, it's fun to do anyway. But,
yeah, it'd be kind of a fun simulator.
I think it would be a really great thing to do, and I think it'd be fun. You go over to your buddy's place, working on this teddy. It's all you couldn't help but fall in love with the game. That's what I'm thinking. Is it'd be like, oh, hurry up and die so I could play one of these games. Because I've seen it with torching. Where you're sharing a torch, and like, I don't know if you ever shared a torch. Like, there is some kind of, and you don't want to be like that. You're like, oh, I hope your piece turns out, and like, you just like, hurry up so I can play, like that kind of thing.
Right.
Not really. I don't want your stuff to turn out, but like you feel like that when you're working too, So I don't know. It is what it is.
Yeah, I hear you. Hell yeah, dude. Well, on that note, let's go ahead and take a quick break to thank some sponsors, and then we'll come back, and it'll be time for us to crash the kiln.
All right.
Cool, man. Let's do it. This episode is also brought to you by C-Cube Co. C-Cube now creates a wide range of specialty and one-of-a-kind artistic glassware, items such as hand-blown wine crafts, insulated coffee mugs, pint glasses, and custom piggy banks that you can have personalized with imprinting, logos, and color accents that are available. Just go to ccubeco, that's SEACUBECO.com for more information. That's ccubeco.com. Yeah, man. So let's go ahead and get this started. And the Crash in the Kiln round consists of 6 questions-ish, and kind of give me a 30 to 6-second answer on the questions. And you can expound upon them as well if you'd like. And the first question I always like to ask is this, if there's any living glass artist that you have not worked with yet, who is it and why?
I know the day's going to happen. I'm going to do a realistic one. I'm going to say Deppy, because I've kind of got the, invite when the pizza's just right to go up and work it out. I'm also looking forward to working with Jared's buddy Rob. Does some amazing lathe work, and I got access to his stuff. Those are 2 that I can do offhand. Now, if I ever get to travel and, do the whole bit, I'll be Lucille Baca. I wouldn't mind working with, like Marcel or Banjo or anybody that's down there and, just crushing it out on their own scene or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Punny would be one of those ones where it's like, I'd be learning as I'm doing it kind of thing. Also, Mente would be really inspiring. Anybody that does Filicello drawings, or flip disc drawings, however you put it, because, I've been corrected and we've argued about it a bunch or whatever, but I think it's a little of both. I mean, when you really come down to it. But,
yeah, I hear you.
Super technical, super challenging, and I to think that I'm one of the most diverse at is if you can do 7-8 inch ones, or something like that, the story tells itself. If you go big on those, you got your work cut out for you. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Hell yeah, dude. So what are your top 5 favorite colors in glass?
Right now, I like the Illuminati. I was calling it the dark side for a long time there because, I felt like it was, it was the non-wholesome glass, when it was coming into the industry. But, it's got the coolest looking stuff in the black light. So, how do you not like that?
Yeah.
It's kind of just fun to find out. I like the Purple Rain a lot. I actually got to give a shout-out. I do my own crucible pot up here every now and again. I take broken chunks of line tubing. I put it in there with steel wool saturation. So a lot of steel wool scrap and a lot of line tubing, and I put that all together, and when I pull it out, I have this multi-fiori kind of 1,000 colors, with glittery kind of steel wool look between it. And so it's a rarity. I called it, I think, the new when I first came up with it. But, anyway, I've handed that out to a few people. One of the coolest things about glass is you can make a color on your own. And, if things completely on your own, a lot of people are going to look at that and they're going to be like, wow, I've never seen this before. And that is one of the coolest things about color, right there. Beyond that, I like any of the double amber purples. I like Serendipity and Moss, Elvis. I don't know. I could go on for days and weeks on color. Literally, Mumka has best color out there as far as like needs, as far as differentiation. Like her stuff's like right on par. I've helped pull it over the years. I know all about it. I know about the process making it, and it's really good stuff.
Okay.
And beyond, you know, I get on board with any of these color companies, whether it's you know, Glass Alchemy or North Star or you know, Tag, or you know, like I'm pretty much on board. I like glass in general. Anything that I can get my hands on, pretty much. Like I got a full color palette and I separate it like on the daily, and that's like one of my claims to fame is like, you know, I can get a rookie starting out here with you know, just money for gas, and I'm like, here, I can provide you with the glass that you'll need, and you will not touch this color till you're ready, you know, like that kind of thing. But you know, I mean, that's a really helpful point in it, and you teach kids as you go along. I've seen batches of one color that didn't work out because it overcooked or like the time of year or whatever wasn't right on it, but for the most part, they got that stuff pretty spot on by now, and it's pretty amazing what they can do with glass. I kind of like the jade white, like building block colors, but just because of how they look or whatever, but I don't, you know, I would say that one of the, like, I judge it upon rarity, like, so, like, what comes into my shop more than others. So, like, if I'm low on yellow, like, that's my favorite color coming in. You know what I mean? Like, whatever I don't have enough, you know, that's what I'm happy to get my hands on.
Hell yeah. Nice. So what's your worst injury in the studio that you've had?
Probably the one where I fainted. Okay, so situation's bleak, you know, girls, got a couple girls in from New York, whatever. We're at the cusp of the end of our relationship. I'm on my own. I'm in a fucking strange town, like away, like a whole state away from me. And, you know, I'm fucking renting out a studio. I got told to get the beers that day. Got 2 fucking Sixers drinking along, you know, and doing a pulled point, just like I was taught, you know, doing my whole thing. And yeah, it was getting too heavy, and, you know, I think I bridged pulled point or some stupid thing, and I heard that first fucking crack going, and I thought I, you know, do some quick maneuver or something like that. Pull point snap, piece rolled over, and my hand was just flipping over at the time, and it fucking caught me right by a main artery on my right arm. All right. And so I look down, and I see this fucking, I'm like, oh shit, and cover up my fucking wrist. And I tell him what happened, you know, and it's just getting down to closing time for the shop pretty much. And I got about to the door and I fucking fainted. So, like, long story short, I don't pull much pull points anymore. I mean, I can. But, you know, like, for what I do, it's just, I mean, I'm usually strengthening up my my fucking blow tube anyway. Like, I'll put a couple extra layers, you know. Sometimes I'll lay down tech or something between there, because I know that it holds it a little truer. You know, like I'll build up a flare out or something like that before I hook up. You know, and I don't trust anything I don't blow air into. You know, like every weld that I say is good enough, it's had pressure blown into it, and I don't mess around if it don't. So,
I hear you.
But yeah, I slept it off on the couch. The roommate was fussy, wouldn't even give me coffee in the morning. He was a real dick. Like, you know, he's going out to freaking work for real. You're all the same, you know. Dude, I just fucking that whole thing. But yeah, beyond that, burned myself pretty good with a mini torch. We were building the what was it? The mech, mecha, I think is what they called it. The mech warrior, the alien riding mech. Me, Forge, Jared, Betty, Quave. It was the one that we all got into the hot breath for a couple of years ago. Jared's in it every other month, but you know.
Nice, yeah.
I mean, just because his work speaks for itself, you know, that kid's like crushing the game, you know. I always ask him, like, what do you do with downtime? He's like, there's no downtime, it's just go time, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
He's an amazing person to know, and you know, I encourage anybody and to get a glimpse of his art, or like, you know, seek out some of his products. The Diamond Knot work's incredible. You know, they make e-nails. Just like so much custom orders you can do with Betty. You know, I was thinking about the way home last night. If you want, you know, somebody to bust into their cryo tank and use that, and use however many grand Herbert Arnold, however many mil Herbert Arnold torch, or whatever it is, that fancy lathe equipment. You want to, you know, get a nice vessel that's going to last you a lifetime and have some art on it. You're gonna have to pay for that. You know what I mean? You know, like, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And like, if you want like somebody that's like rising to the ranks and like, you know, might pull it off and has a however many % success rate, you know, come find somebody like me who can probably bust something out for you. You know, but like, yeah, there is a definite jump that, you know, artists make from the point where they're working with one torch to where they're working with a lathe and you know, whatever it is. You know, there's definitely stepping stones to it. You don't just like go work it up for a crucible overnight and like, you know, like fucking go for real. It's a whole commitment. It's more than a lifestyle. It's a way of life. You know what I mean? Like, it's the land before time. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You gotta go to the point where it don't matter. So.
Yeah, exactly. Hell yeah, man! Let's move forward on the deal here. And when you're in the studio itself, are you watching TV, or are you listening to the radio, or do you do both?
I love playing my jams when I'm in my shop. I like listening to other people's jams, or like maybe putting some on their radio that they're gonna like. I play your podcast. I play other podcasts in my space and other people's space. I use that sometimes when I'm not teaching. When some people are like, all right, I got it, you know, I don't want to listen to you, like, well, I'll play, you know, like that kind of thing. It helps just kind of cut the tedium down in the shop, you know, like maybe some Daft Punk, you know, everybody's working for the weekend, yeah, stuff like that, you know, Rocky Balboa, like, you know, like, I used to run video to my torch, and like I'd have a little like gallery, like watch people work kind of set up, and you know, it was cool for a little while. You know, like I got a projector, I watch movies. Sometimes I'll throw on like an old like highlights of a DFO or something like that, and that'll be playing in the background or whatever. And big shout out to everybody competing in the DFO, everybody traveling down to it, travel safe, you know. I'll see you. It sounds like I'm going, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Also, big thank you for Bobby Snodgrass. I made a project for him the other day that it was you know, sitting on it for 9 months before we ever did a dip in the crucible with it. For those people that are waiting for people to collab with you, and you got your box of goodies or that piece that you're just ready to attach to itself, like, just wait as long as you can. There's no rush. Like, I waited on projects for months and months, and now they're like so set in stone, like so set in like glass that it's like, oh, you know, good luck. You know, that thing's going to be there for my lifetime, you know, and so, you know, you never know. You might run into that cat that's got the laser or someone that's willing to help you out, or like one collabs. So, you know, like for those people that are getting discouraged and your stuff's not working out and you're still trying to put it together, like maybe just sit on it. Sit on it for a little while, you know, when people are sitting there and telling you to flip it and whatnot, and, you know, like, tell them to flip it, like maybe sacrifice one of them, see how that goes, you know, like a poker hand, you know. You just got to make like 7 or 8 of them drawings, sit on them for freaking 2 years, you know.
Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah, dude. Well, for the last question for the Crash and Kiln round, it's always a fun one, too. If you were stranded on an island, which could be any kind of island you'd like, and it had a studio there waiting for you that supplied your gases, a kiln, and your torch, and you had to bake something, what 5 items would you bring?
don't know if I want to do a spoiler alert on this, but I think that he's not making this up. This is an actual scenario, or this is an actual scenario. I've heard of this place. It's like an island. The dude's like pretty much has a glass studio on, and he's like, you know, having people out. It's only this much, and like it sounds pretty fucking sweet. Like I'm almost on board with it. If I had time to travel. As far as the question goes, what would I bring? I'd definitely bring the titanium glasses because I've listened to the show. I'd have a split lens set. You know what I mean? Some of those goggled ones so they're not falling off your face. I'd have my Marvin the Martian hat, or like a hat that covers my ears because I don't like my ears to touch my glasses. I'm trying to drop shades. So I like one of those like be out in the winter kind of hats with the ear covers. I mean, I'd have to have some beautiful female form to look at. Like, if I wasn't bringing some, I'd be sculpting it up, you know. Like, that's all that would be made around me. Just surround myself in that. And as far as, like, glass, I'd probably bring, like, everybody's scrap of it with me that I could. Because, you know, I'm sure I could fucking fill shipping containers just about at this point, you know. Small one. And I'd have all the glass I ever needed. I wouldn't have to buy any. You know, and I think that I could live out my whole life and not go through it, you know. So
Hell yeah.
That's why they call me the scrap godfather up here. So, you know, I do what I can.
Yeah, man.
It's a
nice.
great, you know, use, purpose, recycle. There's no need to throw it in the trash. You know, teach people to blow glass the right way. When they pull, you know, make sure that it all comes off at the end and they Jesus hook it out, you know. They go to the water dish, whatever, get the schmeg off there. I've even taken the schmeg, but like, you know, you're right about to throw it in the water dish. You're like, yeah, I'll just heat it back up, take it over the arbor press, give it a squish, hook it up, you know, and you're back to blowing glass. Get a couple bubbles in there, whatever, you know. Like, glass is so reusable. Give it enough credit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even the schmag is usable. It's amazing. It really is.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, on that,
I don't know if I answered that one well enough. What else would I bring? Oh, I'd bring a ton of weed. I'd definitely bring my rosin press. I'd set up an arbor press, put magnets on the top of it. I'd, you know, a couple fabricated steel plates, and I'd do one of those heat pads, and, you know, I'd have it on mid-high or whatever, and I'd slide them in there with my hot glove, and I'd have a couple rolls of parchment and be squeezing the nugs till it was out of weed, and then I hopefully find a seed and get some badass tropical weed growing, or I don't know. I mean, like, I do my thing. I'd hopefully, you know, like, survive enough to. I'm figuring they're going to do a reality show, like Costa Rica reality show or something.
Right.
You know. Like a little housing set up, like who's going to survive on Blowing Island or whatever it is, like that kind of thing. But yeah, no, I know that this is a real thing. I've talked to friends of mine that are like, yeah, no, they're down there doing that right now. I guess this guy's got like cabins and like the whole bit, you know, like
interesting.
studio, you know, like reality. You know, it's just like the glass blowing video game. It's like, why, like, you know, who's spending time wasting time playing video games? We could be doing this for real, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Hell yeah.
Well, yeah, we all got downtime, you know. Sometimes we're on a plane. Sometimes we're, you know, waiting for our food, whatever it is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'll play in that.
Hell yeah, dude.
When it's created, once I create this thing, you know. All we got to do is talk about it enough. It'll happen.
Yep.
It'll all happen.
That's it.
So you're going to be down at DFO this year? Is that correct?
No, not this year. I'm going to, my kind of some plans have changed for myself for with my gig at Disney and my business plans right now. I got a couple different things in the works, and
Word.
So yeah, I won't be going this year. I'm going to be up at Glassroots though for sure. In October.
Yeah, I thought you had mentioned something about it, but I might have been mistaken. But
yeah, I was trying to get it was the I was trying to get out to the Scientific Glass Blowing Symposium that's coming up next week. That's out in Arizona.
Yeah, you got Mike Sosa coming back on too, don't you?
Yeah, he's going to come back on after he gets back from the symposium. So
cool.
Yeah, we're going to do a follow-up and go from there. So I'm stoked. Hell yeah, dude. So before we let you go, man, if you want to tell us where we can find you out here in the world of cyberspace, and
like I said, my group is Glass Shopping Network, and that's a group on Facebook. There's 20,000 people in there, 500 and some odd people. My glass name, I didn't use my actual name. It is kind of hard to understand. So it's Paul D, and then Wonka spelled backwards with Wonka spelled frontwards in back of it. So it's DAKNOWWONKA. And, that was an LSD trip I took when I was down in Oregon, and I pretty much Googled my own name, and I was like, wow, Doctor Who's dude is never gonna, I could never outshadow this guy. He's been on the air for 30 years, you know, like, I look up myself, that's who comes up, so I, had to think fast, and I was already called Wonka. My new roommates all called me Wonka. I walk into the park or whatever, they call me Wonka, so I pretty much let it stick, and it's like Wonka's Bong Factory or whatever, like whatever you call it, you know. I try to be very diverse and do all assets or facets of, you know, this whole thing, and be a strong member of the community that doesn't post judgment, doesn't have ego, and, you know, I work with everybody, you know, that I can, and, you know, I'm trying to invent the next ooh-ah, you know, whatever it is, you know, whatever's driving the spaceship or whatever it is, you know, like, you'd be surprised, like, that analogy comes up quite a bit in these shops, like, it is like running a spaceship, that is like, you know, like, running into the future. I always looked at glass blowing like, it's kind of like the dredge, you know what I mean, like, there's all these bolts blowing out on the sides, and, you know, like, you're sifting gold in a way, you know?
Yep.
Like, there's a lot of analogies that work for it, I tell you what.
Yeah, man.
And, just big shout out to you and what you're doing, and, you know, don't ever think it's not important, and, like, people aren't hearing you out and listening, because, you know, a lot of us are following along every step of the way, like, doing everything we can to help tell the story the right way, or, like, you know, to get the word out about rest of people these days, you know, like, find those mini torches, you know, put on some covers on. Do what you can to stay safe out there, you know, because it don't take much, you know what I mean? Like, the hidden dangers is, like, the scariest part, and, like, you know, safety needs to be the first thing that you cover with your students, and, like, anybody that comes around your shop, you know, just so that everybody's on the same page with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
hell yeah, man. Well said.
That's very important.
Right on, brother. Well, I got to rock and roll here myself, so I really appreciate you getting on the show and coming on and sharing your story and chit-chatting a bit, and look forward to seeing what you got going on here in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I'm very excited to go out and do some stuff. Right now, I got some great ideas. I'm going to be trying to stick to the female form for a little while, and you know, do that whole bit. But when I get done with that, I'm going to get back to doing some more fun stuff with glass. I like to make my gongs, you know, I like putting a piece together start to finish, but, you know, I struggle on a couple of things that, you know, equipment does a lot better than I can, so, you know, I try to put myself in that frame of mind and wait for those moments and, you know, encourage my friends and peers and everybody around me. And I just can't stress this enough. I don't care how long you've been an artist, get in there, clean your friend's shop, you know, help do everything they can, everything they have to, you know, cut lumber, freaking do everything that's not glass blowing in their life so they can get back to glass blowing and enjoying the life that they live. And, you know, it's your oyster, you know, your pearl, whatever it is, you just got to go out and make it, you know, you got to go sift that sand sometimes and make it happen. But, you don't know that the world's your oyster until you realize that you're trying to say, oh, look at this. Is this good enough for you? You know, you're always trying to get validation from your teachers or your peers or whatever it is. And as long as it's good enough for you, it doesn't matter what's good enough for other people. You're not gonna get a certificate of whatever it is, authenticity on your own piece, or people are gonna look at it and tell you if it's real or not. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
It's very ego-driven, this industry, and it is for a reason. And people, they almost have to get onto their cloud and be able to ride off in the sunset on it, because it's going again tomorrow and the next day. And you can either work in a certain parameters or you can't. You got to get away from it. And you'll find the healthiest ones are the ones that you can snowball the idea on your own, and you don't need any help from any outside sources. And that's when you realize, oh, I got this. So believe in yourself. That's the thing I would tell people the most. And get validation and everything. Get the respect that you earn from doing that the best you can on your own. And if it ain't working out time and time, go to those people and say, hey, can you help out? I can't figure out why this won't work out,
Yep, absolutely. Hell yeah, man. Well said, dude.
There's a lot of humility in it, but whatever,
Yeah, exactly.
Got to learn the right way,
Yep.
You can do it 10 times the wrong way. And I heard it before one time in the shop. I think Duende was telling me, one of the glass artists up here, he goes, yeah, I watched things crack the second time, but I watched them go the third time, and then I stop. And if you see the same thing happen again and again, and then you're still working on it, you look by the fourth go, unless you got the airlock on it. That's the whole thing. That's a game change.
Right.
Right. Oh yeah, I just wanted to give a special thank you to my shopmate over the years, the Dr. Vortex. He's kind of took a little hiatus as people do for a little bit, but without the kid, I never got my doors up. I never got my shop built. One of those what do we do today? Ready to help out. And I sold a lot of his work over the years too. So I gotta say thanks a lot from the bottom of my heart to him, Jared, Betty, Phyllis, Trevor, Adam, fucking all these people that have brought me to the point where I'm at. Isaac, Gina, anybody that's been on board, let me leave out any names, Mothership crew, frickin' Point crew, anybody, Robin Hood, just all these guys that have been part of this stuff, get it to the point where it's at, we're a huge community up here. We all work together. We're trying to bring in new talent. We're trying to help everybody experience the glass community, experience the joy of melting glass, the joy of creating things that are going to last lifetimes, and people are going to enjoy every time that they gaze upon them. So
yeah.
I want to thank everybody that has helped inspire me to the point where I'm at online, everybody that helps out with my groups, and everybody that's just continually to innovate and inspire. And it's what your show talks about, because we're all building off of each other's creativity, and no fluoride is going to keep us, numb at this point. We're blowing minds, we all are so excited about what we're doing that, that's the inspiring part into the shop is you got those goosebumps seeing that awesomeness, and you're oh, I can't wait, and I just want to throw that into the fire, whatever it is,
Yeah, hell yeah. Awesome. Hell yeah, dude. All right,
well,
brother.
It's fun talking with you, Jason.
Yeah, man,
you want to do a follow-up interview or something, or where are they now or something? I'm down,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
And if you need any live corresponding or whatever, man, maybe I'll send you some videos or something while I'm down at the DFO or something.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, I'll be in touch about that for sure. That'd be killer. I'd appreciate that.
All right.
Hell yeah, man.
Thanks a lot for having me on. Sorry it took so long to get on there. I understand the time frames, how they don't allow it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad it worked out finally. So yeah, thanks.
All
again
right.
for your
Well,
patience,
you know when this is going to air? Or?
it's gonna come out next week, probably Wednesday. Next Wednesday.
All right. Yeah, I'm just going to touch base on that. All right. Well, if that wraps everything up, I don't want to waste up your memory any longer or anything.
Yeah, brother. I gotta hit the road and go get to the studio and get myself busy here. Finish up some orders.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, brother. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
We'll keep them torches lit.
Oh yeah.
All right.
All right, Bubba. Take it easy.
All right. Peace.
This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by The Flow magazine. Since its inception, the focus of The Flow has been to provide a bond among members of the lampworking community. In every issue, you can enjoy great content with the hottest artists and cutting-edge techniques using the latest industry products. These features, along with the continuation of our Women in Glass edition, Glasscraft Emerging Artist Awards, inspiring gallery showcases, dynamic general interest articles, as well as health and safety information, make The Flow the leading international lampworking journal. For more information or to subscribe to The Flow, go to theflowmagazine.com. That's theflowmagazine.com. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. If you have any questions, comments, or remarks, please leave them in the show notes page area where it says comments. We'll see you soon. Have a wise night.